The dawn of a new era begins.
Happy Tuesday! Welcome to License to Parent. I'm Teresa Mulhern, and I'm your host. And my co-host, Tori Fees, is here. Hey, Tori.
Hey, kids.
So we're going to be back in just a minute, and tonight we are going to talk about something exciting. We're going to talk about who's the boss of me and who's the boss of you. And next week, we're going to talk about using childcare. So we're going to talk about childcare centers, nannies, in-home, so you'll want to watch that. But in just a minute, we're going to come back, and we're going to find out who's in charge in your house. See you in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back. Tonight we're going to talk about who's in charge. And what I mean when I say who's in charge, I mean who runs your house. Do you run your household? Does your husband run your household? Or does your 4-year-old wear the pants in the family? As childcare providers, we see parents coming through the door every day with their children. And within about 5 minutes flat, we can usually tell who's in charge in the household, who is the person that listens, and who's the person who tells them how it is. So what we want to talk about tonight is the appropriate relationship with your child. How to parent and have a relationship where your child has respect, where your child defers to your knowledge, where they listen to your advice, where they behave in a way that is appropriate both in private and in public, so that you can have the opportunity to teach them. Because children who can't behave can't learn, and children who can't behave can't possibly have a loving, equal relationship as they get older with other people like their peers. Tori, what do you think about parents in charge? What percentage of parents today would you say are in charge of their household?
Wow. Maybe 10%. I'd say maybe 10%.
If I were being very generous, I would say maybe 10%.
Maybe 10%.
And it's not all their fault.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, they get a lot of books now that say, give your child choices, let them have all the freedoms, let them set their schedule. Don't let your baby cry. If a baby cries, they obviously need something. They don't cry for no reason. So we're going to start talking about it from birth. And one of the things that I tell new parents when they're pregnant is that the best advice that I can give you as a pregnant mom or a new mom put them down. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Downtime is crucially important to infants because they learn as early as 3 to 4 weeks old, cry, picked up, cry, picked up. And they become what I like to refer to as hoe babies. HOE, hold me or else.
Hold me, walk me, rock me.
Exactly. Don't put me down. And so the test, we call it the faucet test, and here's how you do it.
Oh, I love this.
Take your infant, and if they're perfectly content, lay them down. If they immediately start crying like a faucet turning on water, pick them up. If they immediately shut off, wait a minute, put them down. If you can do this 3 times in a row, and every time you put them down, they cry, and every time you pick them up, they stop, your child has failed the faucet test, and you have a hoe baby, which means you have a problem. Because in order to be able to learn to roll over, to be able to learn to crawl, to be able to learn to walk, they have to be on the ground. They can't learn any of that sitting on your hip or being held in your arms all the time. So obviously, you don't want your child to be delayed, right? But you don't want them to cry either, right? Okay, you have to sacrifice one or the other. Would you rather hear them cry and have them learn to walk at an early age and have them be able to do all the developmental milestones? Or would you rather they never cry, but they don't meet the developmental milestones because you never put them down? It's your choice. One of the things we talk about with infants is overstimulation and schedules. And Tori's going to talk about how she does the scheduling thing with babies because she is way more strict with the scheduling thing than I am. So start with the newborn. What do you do?
Well, that closer you get to birth, it's got to be more on demand. But when you get into a month old, 6 weeks old, 8 weeks old, then I think I start out with just a 2-hour schedule. And within that 2 hours, I give the baby feeding, burping, diaper changing, floor time, then, a rest. And so I try to get all of that within a 2-hour time period. After they get a little bit older, then I go to 2 hours and 15 minutes, then 2.5 hours. With in my daycare, the ultimate goal is to get them on a 3-hour schedule because that's kind of the schedule of the older kids. A 3-hour cycle.
And by older, you mean 6 months, 8 months?
Yeah, the older babies,
okay.
Right. So that's kind of the goal. And it just depends on how many ounces they're able to drink because that will tell you how long they can be hold off.
And breast milk's like Chinese food.
Yeah.
Goes right through.
Breast milk babies definitely eat more often, and they crap a lot more too. They do. Breastfed babies have, a little bit different of a schedule because they just don't last as long, on the
between feedings.
Yeah, between feedings.
So once you get to the schedule of putting them down, they're having floor time, they're having tummy time, and a lot of babies don't like tummy time.
Yeah.
So it's okay to let them cry. And how long do you let a baby cry if you're putting them down for tummy time?
Well, it depends on their age. If they're, normally you get a baby at about 6 weeks in daycare, 6-8 weeks old. So if they've never done tummy time before, then I'd just do a couple of minutes, lay them on their belly, because you don't want them to get highly stressed, and then start basically adding on to that. Do 2-minute blocks, then do 3-minute blocks, 4-minute blocks, and then do different positioning. I do some straight out on the floor, some where they have a baby boppy. It's like a half moon.
Oh, the pillow,
and yep, they're on that, so it gives them a little bit different of angle to hold their head up. As long as they're not face planting, they can't have their face, smack dab on the floor or on the surface, and make sure that the surface is hard. And then pretty soon you'll see that they'll be able to cock their head to the right, do it to the left, and up. And once you see all 3 of those moves, you're ready to start to get into some serious belly time. And that would be a baby that was 5 or 6 months old could do 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Perfect.
And as they get a little bit older, and if they're used to it, the fussing stops. Then you start laying toys out. Once you start laying toys out, then they have, something to reach for. That happens like at the 4th, 5th month.
And it's okay at home to try this stuff. So as you're hearing us talking about these things, try laying your baby down for a couple minutes, then add a couple more. Belly time's not just for daycare. Okay. Putting them on the floor is not just for daycare. They have to have that all of the time in order to be able to do the things they need to do to grow. The other thing we talk about with young infants is the noise toys factor. And Tori and I have talked a lot. We have our ideas and beliefs about how things work. And one of the things that we think is that there might be a correlation between the growing number of children with attention deficit disorder and the number of noise toys and vibrating toys that children grow up with now. Because back in the day, of course, when my oldest kids were little, they didn't have bouncy seats that vibrated. Nope. They didn't have bassinets that played music in your ear. They didn't have toys that lit up and played music and played 20 different tunes. And I think we were talking about the other day that kids now early as, 9 months you were talking about? As early as 9 months now will start picking up toys. And if they don't make some kind of reaction, they're not interested. Right. And so they will actually look at a toy, see if it makes noise or has lights. And if it doesn't, they move on to the next toy, which shows that their attention span is not what it should be. And they're not interested in actually what does the toy do if it doesn't light up and make music. And so the concern there is that children are constantly wanting to be stimulated. They always want something coming in, which keeps them from putting something out. And we want for kids to be able to learn how toys work, to take them apart, to put them together. To a child that always wants lights and music, a puzzle is never going to be interesting. To a child who always wants lights and music, a book is never going to be interesting. Television's going to be interesting. Video games are going to be interesting. But we're starting them at such an early age now with the stimulation of the lights, the music, the vibration. And imagine that you as an adult spent your entire day with your chair at work vibrating, your office playing music in your ear, lights flashing on and off all over your desk while you're working, and you do that for 18 hours out of a 24-hour day. Imagine at the end of the day the violent headache, how you would feel emotionally drained, how you would feel exhausted physically. Take that and think about the fact that that's what you're doing to your baby when you constantly have them sleeping in a swing, sleeping in a vibrating bed or bouncer. The fact of the matter is that in order to get good rest, babies need calm. And babies now I have a lot of parents who come in and, oh, my child just cat naps. They don't really take a nap. They just nap 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then they're up. They don't really sleep well. Well, imagine that everything around you lit, vibrated, and sang. You wouldn't sleep well either. It's a constant overstimulation. So in order to get good brainwave activity and good REM sleep, which is crucial to all of us no matter what our age, there has to be the downtime.
Right.
So my advice is clear out all the toys that make noise and have lights. Go buy some old-fashioned, old-school wooden toys. Get your dishes out of your kitchen. My children at a young age love to play with the pots and pans, the wooden spoons. We would use old yogurt cups. We'd empty them, wash them out, put them in the cabinet, and my daughter loved stacking yogurt cups. And now I go to Sam's Club and buy the big packs of the 500 plastic disposable cups. Mm-hmm. She will literally stack huge towers and then push them down as hard as she can, and then she'll stack another huge tower and take them down as fast as she can. It's a skill, and she's getting pretty good at it, the cup stacking thing, and it's an interactive thing that keeps her brain working. If those cups lit up and played music, she would never move them. She'd just sit and stare at them. So there's a big difference. So take the toys that are stimulating with noise and music and vibration out of your house. You agree?
Yes. And when I was at Walmart looking at I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I was looking at what's available for brand new babies and what the equipment looks like now. And the vast majority of equipment has either lights and sounds or motion or both. And it's so common now that parents actually think that is the equipment to buy.
Yep. Because
they believe that there's a lot of value in having constant motion or constant lights, and they don't realize that that we've never done this before in humanity. We've never had, from the time the babies are born, they're just bombarded with lights and sound and vibration. It used to be a rocker, a wooden rocker that an adult would have to sit there and push back and forth. And
I have one of those.
the adult would tire out, so it would only go on for so long. Just used actually just to get them to sleep, and then they would sleep still. Now it's the whole time they're sleeping, they're rocking.
Yep.
The whole time they're in bed, there's mobiles going on, and it's just too much. If your baby is doing a 20-minute cycle where they are only sleeping for 20 minutes, that's the most common time frame that I hear on catnapping. And that is the number one sign to me that the baby doesn't have a good sleep pattern. 20 minutes is the cycle of sleep where the baby goes into slightly deep sleep and then starts to get a little aroused. And when they're just a little aroused, they wake right up.
Yep.
And so if you have a baby that's doing catnapping in 20-minute cycles, you've got a pretty good idea you're doing it wrong.
And you've got a pretty cranky baby.
Right.
So, I mean,
it won't end until you get the sleep cycles longer.
Exactly. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is you can't skip the foundational steps. If your child is not getting adequate rest, adequate food of a nutritional nature,
Right.
adequate time on their tummy or adequate time where they have to self-comfort, you can't skip those steps and end up with the same result as someone who doesn't. And so if you throw up your hands and say, 20 minutes, that's all she sleeps, and you just figure that there's no solution to that, and you don't look for a way to manage the structure and the schedule to get them back on a good sleeping schedule, you're not going to get the benefits and results of the parent who says, no, wait a minute, this 20-minute nap thing, this cannot happen. And they sit down and figure out what is it that's keeping this child from getting adequate rest. So you have to put in the work. And sometimes that means that you have to readjust your schedule, because I see a lot of parents who, when it's their time to parent, which is Saturday, Sunday, or evenings, it's easy to get caught up in your own schedule and forget about your child's. You can get very interested in talking to your girlfriend on the phone, and all of a sudden it's a half hour or an hour past your children's bedtime, and they're still running around the kitchen throwing things at each other. Or you can get caught up in a movie or be on your computer, and meanwhile your children are not getting bath time, story time, the wind down time that they need to be able to lay down and go to sleep. So then when it does come time to put them into bed, then you have havoc because you want to skip the story in the bath because it's already past bedtime. They need the structure of we always have a story in the bath, and so it becomes a conflict. We're going to come back in just a minute. We're going to talk about this some more, but don't go away. We'll be back in just a sec.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders. Building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back. We're talking tonight about who's in charge. We're talking about children who run their household like crazy people. So we've talked about babies, and we've talked about structure and schedule and sleep and making sure that they have the adequate foundation. Usually infants, other than the whole hold me, walk me, rock me, there's not really a whole lot of complication to babies. So we're going to move on to toddlers. And toddlers are where the trouble begins. Toddlers are where parents get confused about what's appropriate to say no to and what's not. And my rule is, it's okay to say no. About anything, it's okay to say no. We read a lot of stuff nowadays about letting your child have choices. I agree with choices. And here's the choices. You have a choice to mind me, or you have a choice to be miserable. You have a choice to do the right thing and behave, or you have a choice to be by yourself because your friends don't want to play with you. I think that children's choices come with an understanding of what having a choice means. And I don't feel that 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds really understand the privilege of a choice. And I don't feel like that a lot of times that they are in a position to make a wise choice. So when parents talk to a child and say, okay, you can have a choice of you can have lunch now, and then you can either watch a movie or lay down for a nap, I don't think there should be a choice there. How about you?
No. Kids need a leader. They need you to lead them. That's what propels us through humanity, is to be able to be led by the wiser ones. And it's okay to be in the leadership role in your house. It is your job to be the leader. A 2-year-old cannot lead the house. They are terribly inadequate leaders. They're not old enough. They haven't had enough life experience. They don't know cause and effect. It's okay for us to say no to these kids, whether they like it or they don't like it, because we do know what's best. A 2-year-old does not have the ability to know what is best for them. You've got to be able to step to the plate and say, I am the boss for a reason. There's an age difference between us for a reason. Yeah. I'm supposed to lead you.
And the top 2 things that are battles, starting at age 2, are food and sleep. So, here's what we're going to tell you. If your child has picky eater syndrome, and a lot of you will tell me, oh, he won't eat anything. He just likes yogurt and fruit. That's all he'll eat is yogurt and fruit. Well, if all your child eats is yogurt and fruit, you're all right. Yogurt and fruit are acceptable choices. If all your child will eat are Goldfish crackers and McDonald's French fries, we got a problem. So, first thing when we talk about food for a child is that they have to have enough. They have to have small meals frequently. They have to have a variety of nutrition, but not necessarily a variety of food. And that's one of the things that Tori and I talk about often, is that back in the day, before we could fly everything everywhere, children ate local fresh produce that was in season. Right. So there wasn't always blueberries in January, true?
Right.
And so it's okay for your child to eat the same food several days in a row.
Yes.
And I think that one of the lessons to be learned here is that oftentimes children will crave food that their body needs because of the season, because of things they're deficient in. And so watch your child's cues. If they're making appropriate choices, if there's something they want that's healthy, it's okay to let them have an apple. It's okay to let them have a banana. But if they're constantly asking for carbs, that's a sign that it's more of an addiction issue than it is an actual nutritional issue.
I don't agree that yogurt and fruit, though, is a good diet. I mean, and I think that that's a sign that the kid is only wanting foods that they don't really have to chew up. So when I have a kid that comes to me and just wants yogurt, applesauce, it's really a huge red flag that they're not able to manage the fiber of the meats and the complex grains. So I try to, make sure that they have it.
Talking about mushy fruit or any
Yeah.
fruit?
Well,
I'm more talking about kids who like to eat whole apples.
right.
Or they like to eat cut up melon.
I think we're seeing a lot of kids right now that have the texture issues, and that I think it's very common problem that the picky eater kids, the picky eaters are the ones I say if they're a picky eater, they're the ones who get to pick.
Yeah.
And that's just how it comes down to. But there's a huge wave right now in kids that are not able to manage anything that they really have to chew up. They want fast swallowing foods. They want foods that they can put in their mouth and swallow down whole. And parents believe that yogurt is a healthy food, but if you really look at the yogurts that are available commercially, they have a tremendous amount of sugar in them, like maybe as much as 27 grams of sugar in 1 6-ounce yogurt.
So
it's
there's
a
your lesson
lot.
for yogurt.
Yeah,
Read.
I mean, really
And get
read the
Greek.
back of it and look at the protein content
Yeah.
of it. So I wouldn't. Yogurt is okay as one of the foods they have, but when you have a kid that they're pretty much eating stuff that they can take and swallow whole, and they don't have to chew, it's a really good sign that there's going to be a lot of feeding problems in the future. What they transition into is French fries. That's more melt in your mouth, don't have to chew. And then chicken nuggets, hot dogs, macaroni and cheese. Those foods really don't take a tremendous amount of chewing, whereas a piece of thick whole grain 7-grain bread, you've got to chew it up. With meat, you've got to chew it up. So if they're doing what we call kiddie foods, and that's the only thing that they want, it's pretty good sign that you're doing it wrong. I mean, they need to back off of those foods and give them stuff that they have to chew up, and do it with incrementally over time. You don't want to hit them all with it at the first, right from the beginning. You want to give them the proteins and stuff in small amounts and get them used to chewing it, get used to the textures.
Another thing Tori does that I find fascinating is attachment food. I don't know if that's the right phrase for it, but when children don't like a food, if I remember right, you put like Cheerios on top of the food.
No, I do incremental exposures. Instead of they say, oh, you have to give a kid something 10 times in order for them to really like it when they get new foods.
Right.
What I do is I give them a 10th of it. So if I had a serving of green beans was a quarter of a cup, I'd give them about a 10th of that mixed in with something that I already know they like.
Okay.
The next time, 2/10 of it, 3/10. Instead of just giving them whole green beans 10 times, I give them a really small amount of it, a little bit bigger the next time, and I try to add it to a host food, preferred food that they like, as long as that preferred food is healthy.
So like adding corn to spaghetti.
Sure.
Little bits at a time
Yeah,
until
and
they
you
like
can
corn.
puree it to add it in. I love doing pureed food first, just to give them the taste of it, and then they can deal with the texture as they get a little bit further into it. But if I want to add something, like last year I added kale for the first time to my kids' diet, and that's how I did it. I stewed it, pureed it, and gave them just a couple of teaspoons in their roast beef and potatoes and carrots. Just added a couple of teaspoons, the next time a little bit more, and then...
And if you fed your kids kale, you're all right in my book.
Yeah.
I'm betting
They
probably
actually
not
like
very
it.
many of you have actually
It's
fed your kids
good.
kale.
The kids really like it. I mean, now they'll eat it straight.
Yeah.
But it took I'm just giving that as one example, but if I were to introduce anything new to them, I just do it in really small amounts, add it to an already food that they already like, and then I just keep at it maybe 3 days in a row. I'll just increase the amount and get them used to the taste. Then I do the consistency and make the consistency a little bit more chewable, that they have to chew up to in order to get it. But that system works so great. You just don't have the refusals on food if you just add it slow but sure into their diet, instead of just putting it in front of them and expecting them to put it and taste it and then put it down. They get a thing inside of them where they just refuse it. And so every time you try to give it to them, they say no to it, instead of sneaking it in there, getting them used to the taste, and then once they're acclimated to it, then increase the texture of it. Make it more towards, obviously, the more raw, the better that you can do. So that's how I do it, and it just works fabulous. The kids all like, at my house, they like roast beef and potatoes and carrots, or chicken and noodles. So when
you do the bowl-in-ones like nobody's business.
I can make
casseroles and bowl-in-ones are a great idea for feeding kids nutritionally.
The kids love stew. And, as the little babies, once they're starting on regular food or on baby food, I can make them basically the same thing that the older kids are having, as long as I puree it down to a consistency that they can manage. So when I adjust my infants into my toddler and older kids eating, there's no adjustment at all. They've already had it. I mean, I'm not giving them commercially prepared baby food, so I decide the level of the strength of the food that I put in their cereals or into their meats. I can add it however, and mix and match it all I want. And so by the time they're a year old, they've had the exposure to everything that the big kids eat, and I can get the consistency to where everybody in the house likes it. And so they can make roast beef, potatoes, chicken and noodles. I mean, it just doesn't matter. Tuna casserole, spaghettis. You can do all of that with pureed, and then sneak in a little bit of mixed greens. Put in a little bit of kale or spinach, peas, green beans, Brussels sprouts. It doesn't matter. You can add any
From the
of that to
Remax
spaghetti
Real Estate
sauce, and they won't even know it's there.
We just started with our kids. We switched from peanut butter to a soy sunflower butter. My daycare centers went peanut-free last year. And being nut-free is tough.
It is.
So I had to switch my household, because I did not want my children eating peanut butter on their toast for breakfast and then going into the daycare center and kissing a friend. And lo and behold, here the friend has an attack. So we actually switched to a soy sunflower butter. We have been alternating cow's milk with some soy and almond milk to give them some variety in their milks. And I try really, really hard to avoid several things with my kids nutritionally when I can. I don't allow my kids to have any diet foods, no artificial sweeteners of any kind. The only exception would be that I like stevia, the Truvia, the stevia plant. I do like that. And I also like the agave, which is made from cactus.
Yep.
But no NutraSweet, no saccharin, no aspartame, because they actually can cause your child's body not to handle insulin and sugar intake. They can mess with it. So it leads to an increased risk of having adult onset diabetes.
Ooh.
So we avoid all the dietary stuff. I try very hard to make sure that my children get enough protein, but I don't have meat eaters. My girls like the Greek yogurt. They're not crazy about meat except chicken and fish. They like chicken and fish, but pork, beef, they just don't seem to want to have anything to do with them. And I don't know if it's a textural thing or if it's just flavor, but I'm happy that they'll eat the chicken and the fish. I can live with that. But if your child isn't getting enough food, then they're not going to get enough of anything else, because it's hard to sleep when you're hungry.
Absolutely.
It is definitely hard to sleep when your stomach feels like a bowling ball is in it from grease and from heavy fast foods. So be very careful. It's okay to pre-pack foods. It's okay to make toddler meals on the weekends, pack them, put them in the fridge. It's okay for kids to eat salad.
Right.
I mean, my kids love a good salad. So if you're going to have to go through a fast food restaurant and you have a 5-year-old, try getting a strawberry almond salad with chicken in it, or try doing a wrap. It doesn't always have to be chicken nuggets off the kids' menu or hamburgers. You can try some alternatives with your children. They may not eat them, but I'd prefer my child ate a half a wrap than an entire burger and fries.
One thing I think, too, that works great at my house is that I do a full meal, like a supper meal for lunch every day. And I have amazing sleepers. I mean, my kids go down for a nap. They're all asleep within 5 minutes of the time that I lay them down. And they sleep 99 out of 100 days. All 8 of my kids sleep at the same time. And they take a good 2.5-hour nap. We don't have any problems unless somebody happens to get sick. And I attribute that to the scheduling of when we eat and what we eat. We go out for, like today, for example, we went out for a long walk, went up to the school, played on the playground. We were outside for probably an hour and a half. Came back, I already had a bowl-in-one lunch already ready for them, and all I had to do was heat it up. And so as everybody was getting cleaned up from being outside, I heated that up and dished out. It was like a beans and rice with some, I made buffalo broth for the beans and rice. They absolutely loved it. It was delicious. And it had some, squash. That was the other thing that we had. And they ate it. I mean, they ate it. It was really nutrient dense, and they chowed it down. We had a little bit of crackers, wheat crackers to go with it. And then we had ice cream, but don't tell anybody. We had ice cream for a treat. We had a little bit of vanilla ice cream.
All right, on that thought, we're going to take a quickie break.
Already?
Because as usual, they're flashing the yellow light at us.
All right.
So we'll be back in just a minute, and we'll talk about the next step, sleep.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back. So we were talking about nutritious meals and going out and getting some exercise, then sitting down to a bowl-in-one. And the next thing that you were talking about after we went to break was that before kids go down to sleep, they need some time to run around to do what?
So they can dump the load.
Exactly. Kids, just like adults, need that regularity.
Right.
So make sure your kids have some time between the time they eat and the time they lay down to go to sleep. You don't want them to have an accident if they're older, or if they're younger. You don't want them to have a diaper rash from being in a diaper that is wet or soiled throughout the night. So it's important to give them some time after dinner or after lunch to run around a little bit to take care of their intestinal needs before they go down for sleep.
That's one of the great secrets to getting everybody to take a nap at the same time and to take a good long nap, is to make sure that they have that time after they eat to be able to move around a little bit, go to the bathroom, and then have some quiet time right before cleanup time, 15 minutes or so of de-escalation time, and then put them down for a nap in a dark room and put them to bed wide awake. No holding, rocking, cajoling them to sleep. If you put them to bed wide awake and in a good dark room with some people use like motion sounds, like ocean sounds and stuff like that. I don't.
White noise.
White noise, but I do. I'm not against using white noise. Fans, if that helps soothe them, I don't mind a little background noise for them. I don't have to have that, but I usually have the fan on my furnace, so we do get a little bit of sound going through. And then put them all down by noon or 12:15, and boom, 2:45, that's when everybody starts to wake up, and then we do kind of the reverse. Once they wake up, we don't run in and, put them out of bed right away. We dim the lights a little bit and let them gradually wake up. So you honor the system before they go down for a nap, that they need some calm down time, give them a good solemn nap, and then do it in reverse and just gently wake them up. Then you'll end up with kids that are well rested and ready for a snack and ready to go.
And it's a brilliant idea, if you can do it, to put a dimmer switch on the lights in your kid's room. That way at night, when you're doing the same thing, when you go out and get exercise in the yard, and then you have a really good nutritional dinner, after dinner, then we have a little bit of time to play with our toys, we run around, then it's bath time, and then it's time to quiet down. So it's okay to dim the lights a little, read a story, dim the lights a little more, talk about the day, talk about how tired we are and how it's time to lay down. And then gradually your child will calm themselves to the point where they're ready to go to sleep. And one of the big secrets to getting children to go to sleep is getting them to lay still. So if you can get them to lay down, you've halfway won the battle. Now the problem comes in when you can't get them to lay down because you don't want to lay down next to them, or you don't want to supervise and make sure that they stay down. So if you're busy downstairs watching a movie and your children keep coming down every 3 minutes saying, I need a drink, I need my vitamin, I want something to eat, and then you get up and get it for them and then send them back and get up and get it for them and then send them back,
Yes.
You're losing.
One time put to bed. One time.
Exactly.
I totally disagree with the super nanny system of, constantly doing, 67 returns to bed and all of that. That absolutely doesn't work for me. That they can actually get up and come all the way downstairs. I mean, you might have to guard dog them at their beds to, keep them in the bed, but no getting up 15, 20 times. That's not going to work. It's too stimulating.
Yeah.
It's just too stimulating.
And especially for older children, the system that I have when my kids get old enough to understand it is if you keep coming down, your bedtime gets made earlier.
Yes.
Because I need you asleep by this time. If you're going to come down for 20 minutes, then tomorrow we're going to go to bed 20 minutes earlier. And the next day we're going to go to bed 20 minutes earlier than that. Now, I won't tell you that my children don't ever come down and want something, but what I try to do is make sure that before they go to bed, we've covered all the bases. So we have a bath. We get our hair done. We wash our face. We brush our teeth. We go in, we lay down, we read a book. At that point, then, do you need a drink? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Is there anything you need? If not, good night. If you need a drink, then we're going to have a drink, but it's going to be water. I do not agree with giving your child juice, milk, anything with sugar in it at bedtime. It's not healthy for their teeth. It's not healthy for their sleep. A glass of water is perfectly adequate. And the bottom line is that if you are trying to potty train them, then they should be having that water even earlier. They shouldn't be having it right at bedtime. So the best system is to make sure that after dinner, when you're having the bath and when you're doing everything else, that you have a drink during that time, so that at bedtime you can say, no, we had a drink. We had a drink right after dinner. You're fine. It's time to go to bed, and it's time to go to sleep. And once they're in bed, then it needs to be that they stay in bed. Yep. It needs to be, it is now bedtime. You are not to get out of bed. You need to lay down. We're going to rest. And it's time to go to sleep. And I allow my children to read books in bed. I don't know about you, but
that's fine.
I tell my children, if you want to lay there and read, Totally fine. No problems
Just
here.
no television too close to bedtimes for the birth to 5 crowd. I mean, if you do a bunch of movies and TVs and within, a half an hour of the time they go to bed, they are not going to be able to do it. It's just too stimulating. It has to be something that's really low key for them to do. You can't expect a kid to watch a live action cartoon or a movie and then just 15 minutes later go to bed and be able to settle themselves down. In my daycare, we don't allow them to watch television at all anywhere near close to bed. We don't do TV, but we definitely wouldn't allow it before nap time because they just would not settle down and go to sleep. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't watch TV in the evenings at all. Of course, that's unrealistic. But I think to have them watching TV within a half an hour of bedtime is going to be pretty stimulating for them to go to bed. Do you let your kids watch TV right up to bedtime?
I do let them watch TV when they first lay down, but I limit what they watch, and it's a pretty short program, and when it's over, then we're done. So once that show goes off, then that's the end of it, and I don't go in and put in show after show after show. They get to watch their one, and then it's over. A lot of times, if I really want them to go to sleep, I'll put in something that's boring to kind of get them to where they're not even.
Right.
They're like, oh, I'm tired. I'm not going to pay attention to this anymore, and off they go. Yeah, Discovery Channel's good for that.
There you go. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Turn on the
actually.
Discovery Channel and let them watch.
But the reading
How
is
did they
really
make that
good.
kind of a deal?
They're looking through books is great.
Yeah.
Just like video gaming and computer and the high stimulus cartoons, you really can't expect them to settle down too close, with those. If you can invest your time into them on the front end and give them a calm bath, a little bit of calm play, not terror through the house kind of play, but play in an area, a small area that's not huge wide open spaces. Just kind of small up their world and dim the lights. Do it progressionally over the period of time before you put them to bed. Then you'll have a de-escalated kid that's ready to go to sleep. With my son, I've never had a problem with him going to bed. He's able to just go in, settle down, and go to sleep. But we pace out the day. He's 11, and we still have to pace out the day for him.
Well, and you're a pretty early riser, too.
Yeah, I get up really early, and he, I can't stay up too late myself. So on school nights, he has to go to bed by, 8:30, 9 o'clock, no matter what, because I have to go to bed at that time. And I would definitely want to make sure that he goes to sleep before I do when he's got school. And that's a big thing. I think a lot of parents will let them have the televisions in their room and let them basically fall asleep to TV, and then they end up with a kid that's up at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, or they can wake up, the parent can wake up at midnight and the kid still be awake. I've actually had daycare kids who watch Sprout TV until they, pass out, and then the parents have found that they're awake at, in a playpen or laying in bed with the parents at midnight, and the kid is still awake, and that trashes their next day for daycare. You end up receiving a kid who really hasn't finished their night's sleep, and that can blow up your whole daycare. If you have a kid that is only into the 5th or 6th hour of their 10-hour sleep, then they're going to need to come to your house and do a 3 or 4 hour nap right when they very first arrive, or otherwise they're a miserable unit for the whole day.
And we're
So
not
it's
kidding when we
important
say
to us
10
that you get
hours.
them to bed. Yeah, at least
Yeah.
10. I mean, even the 2-year-olds need to still have close to a 12-hour night. I mean, go to bed at 8 o'clock, get up at 8 in the morning, 11-hour night, somewhere in there. You cannot cheat Mother Nature on sleep and end up with a well-behaved kid. It's impossible. There's no such thing as a kid who needs a small amount of sleep.
And how about those parents who come in and say, I want you to take away nap.
way.
I can't get them to go to bed at night. I want you to take away nap.
I don't do that. I don't provide
I don't
services to children who don't need a full afternoon nap.
Yeah.
If they've outgrown nap, they've outgrown my program, because I need a time in my 11, 12-hour day when I know everybody's down. And I like taking care of the well-rested kid. I mean, that's like something that keeps me going year after year after year, is having a house full of kids who eat well and sleep well and behave well. That's what keeps me going, that I know that I'm going to have this break in the middle of the day, time to get the lunch dishes caught up, be able to have a little bit of lunch myself, be able to call my friend Terry if I need to, and be able to have a little bit of internet time or TV time just to relax. It's important for the adults to have a break. Childcare is a very hard profession, and I've found that if you don't protect your nap time and make sure that you have that break psychologically, you know you're going to have it. And physically your body needs it. If you don't protect nap and you start selling away part of nap time, meaning that kids are taking less nap, or going to bed later, or doing activities during nap, that you can end up with a burnout daycare provider. And the last thing you want as a parent is to have the person taking care of your kid be burnout. That's the last thing you want. They might be good 99.99% of the time, but the 0.01% of the time when the burnout comes through, you could end up with a hurt kid. I mean, you could end up with a provider losing it, just having 15 seconds of their life to find the rest of their life.
Well, and
protect your providers.
I don't think parents understand, especially with in-home providers, because in centers, for me, it's a little bit different.
It is
staff
different
have
in
lunch
centers,
break.
yep.
I don't think the parents understand that when especially an in-home provider.
Oh, excuse me. She needs to go to bed too.
And I miss my nap. I think especially with in-home providers, that nap time is essentially the only break that you have all day. Because I remember when I did in-home, I would get kids through the door at 5 o'clock in the morning. The last kids would go out the door 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And literally from 5 in the morning till 7 at night, my only break was nap time.
Yes.
Because the rest of the time, you cannot take your eyes off those children.
Right.
And so nap time is literally the only time of day when you can just yawn and sit and say, I'm exhausted. I need a few minutes just to gather myself before I go back and do it again.
The request to keep kids up from nap is getting younger and younger and younger. To now, it is not uncommon at all for parents of 1-year-olds, or with babies, it comes out that they only want them to have a couple of cat naps a day. But we were having parents of kids as young as 1 saying that they don't want them to have any rest period or only have an hour. It's not just the 5-year-olds that are getting ready to go to kindergarten, or the 4-year-olds, or even the 3-year-olds or the 2-year-olds. The request to keep kids up all day long is dipping all the way down into infancy now. And so you got to think about that, putting aside the notion that the kids actually need sleep, and there's no such thing as a kid who doesn't need sleep. To even take that aside, no matter what, the person that's taking care of your child in a group needs a break. They need it, and it's okay to say, I have to have a rest. This is a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day, and I can't do it. I have to have a break, or I'm not going to be able to do this healthily day after day, week after week, year after year, decade after decade. If you want someone to be at the top of their game, protect the break. And it's not a little break. A half an hour won't do, an hour won't do, an hour and a half won't do. The providers that make it year after year, almost all of them have at least a 2-hour nap, because in a 10-hour day or an 11-hour day, you're trying to mimic as close to as possible the normal 8-hour working day. The providers are by themselves. They don't have someone to come in and take over. It's not like a center where all day long you're with somebody else. So you have someone, an adult, to help you through moment to moment. The providers are alone, and they're working long days. And it's okay for them to say, I actually need the break for me. I don't do nap time for the benefit of the kids. When it all comes down to it, that's not my first thing. My first thing is that I have to have the break in order for me to be good with the kids. And I mean, ultimately, it all comes down to me, that I have to make it happen. In order for me to be good with the kids, I have to be rested and know that I have a break. And then secondly, of course, it's great for the kids to have a break in the middle of the day too. But providers feel very pressured now to have kids up for some reason. If it's a baby for catnapping, or if it's a 4-year-old, they've outgrown the nap, or a 2-year-old that's not going to bed, at a decent hour at home. There's constant requests to keep kids up at nap, and it's okay for the daycare provider to say, you know what, I'm not going to host that.
And even if we keep your child up every day for nap,
It's not going to help at bedtime.
Yes, it's not going to help at bedtime. An overly tired child resists bed even more. So there'll be even more whining, even more tantrums. Plus, you'll have a crabby kid all evening.
Yep.
Do you want to start at 6 p.m. with that? You don't. So honor the nap time for the sake of your child, for the sake of your child care provider, for the sake of that 10 hours that your child might not get through the night, but you can add a couple in during the day. And I definitely will need my own tonight. So anyway, we're going to go now, and we will see you next week. We've enjoyed talking with you. In just a few minutes, we're going to be coming back with the school age years. So those of you who have older kids or just want to get a jump on knowing how to manage older kids, come back and join us in a few. Have a great night. Happy Tuesday. We'll see ya.
Bye, kids.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to